Hey guys, this is Jeff on the Entrefied Podcast. If you don't know who we are, let me pop over here to our screen and where you can take a look at our website. It says Becoming Entrefied at the very top, and we are basically a podcast. We offer YouTube videos. We offer lots of different things. Transcripts. We've got 100 and something transcripts of our podcast. We interview guests from professionals, book authors, just all kinds of different people on our show, and we look for those success principles and traits, failures that they went through, things that they've learned. Some of these people that we have on our show is some very amazing people. They've accomplished a lot of different things, but we are a podcast, and we do have like our workbook that we have right now that will try to help you make the best of your days. So what that means is we call it a continual improvement program. I call it a PAR course, which is plan, action, and repeat. Sometimes I refer to it as plan, adapt, repeat. But basically, it has a morning routine, and it has a lot of questions in that workbook that will help you determine what you really want out of life. If you don't already, and nobody really fully has everything figured out, but if you will put everything, if you'll use this book that you get in the free newsletter, I'm telling you, it's going to help you. It has a morning routine. It has something that one of the first things it does before I get into this is it helps you determine what you're going to be doing the day of. So that's one of the most important things people don't realize. They're always thinking about where they're going. Well, you need to think about where you're at and how to get what's in front of you done, and then have a time to plan later. I hope that makes sense. Get our workbook. It's called the PAR program, Plan, Action, Repeat. It's in our free newsletter. But Entrefied, if you want to be on our site, you can go to our website. We're in 37 different countries, I think, now. But yeah, take a look at that. But I want to get to what I want to talk about right fast. I don't want to go on and on at the mouth about this. So let's go ahead and go into that. One of the things I wanted to talk about was taking action on what matters. I got some additional notes I'm going to have to add in. It's not necessarily right on this page because I wanted to give you this, guys. I didn't want you not to have it. And I know some of you out there may not see the value in it. A lot of things that we talk about, but I'm telling you, if you start to apply these little things in your life, and you start to ingrain them, such as one thought that I wanted to write down here and talk about on the podcast, which is, again, the podcast. We have a podcast, and we're also on YouTube. So it's a combination of the two. I don't know if you're listening to the podcast or if you're watching it on YouTube. But either way, hopefully you're getting some great content. But one of the things I want to talk about was the fact that when something happens, when something you remember to do something, or you need to do something, or you have a great idea, write it down. Write it down in a centralized location that you're going to come back to. Don't have 20 different sources that you write down things and you come back and say, try to collaborate and put them all together and put them into one. You may have something like that on your phone. Like, for instance, you may have something that you put something in and then you transfer it later. At least get it wrote down somewhere. But I encourage you to have a centralized location where it's like you have this great invention, or you have this great idea, or you need to do something from home. And you're like, well, I need to remember to do this. And then we don't write it down. We don't write it down. And then we're thinking, what was that I was trying to remember? Guys, just get in the habit of that. This is what this podcast is all about. Finding those magic things that make you better. The habits, the tips, the tricks, the principles. The habits especially, because if you will make things habitual, there's something that's happening all the time, and they're positive, you'll start to see results in other areas of your life, personal, professional. But anyway, getting into what we want to talk about, that was just one thing off the top of my head. Sorry, guys, I'm not really trying to ramble, but I just got so much to go through. But taking action is super important. As long as you can take forward progressive action, you're probably going to be doing okay. You're probably going to be doing well. As long as you're making forward progress. I know a lot of people don't want to have structured days, and maybe that's okay for them. Maybe it's okay for you. But I would suggest that you build some time into study and plan. Taking action has to be a part of your success. Everybody thinks things to death sometimes. Some people do, including myself. Sometimes I'm guilty of that. I'll overthink it. Sometimes you just need to do it. Take action. That's one of the most important things. I don't know how many people tell you, well, I just hadn't looked at that yet. I haven't studied on it. I'm going to check that out, or I'm going to do this, but I'm going to wait down. I'm going to see what I need to do later. You're never going to do it. Most cases, you're not going to do it. Stop what you're doing and get real with yourself and plan what you want to achieve and accomplish in this life. You're only going to get one life. That's it. That's it. You're not going to get another one. He said, well, I'll do it sometime. I mean, yeah, you can. I would encourage you, though, to just make a small movement in that direction. Maybe you can get some momentum. When you get that momentum, you can go further. I don't want to go on and on about this because I got a lot of points. But try to make small progressive actions towards something. Don't think, oh, I'll do it all one day. Think about, I'm going to continually work toward that every day. Maybe just a little small step. It's like the saying, you eat an elephant one bite at a time. You really do. Moving on, guys. Be very knowledgeable about what you're taking action with, though. It's very important. I mean, you don't want to get to the point where you're just do something, you don't have no knowledge on it. You wind up failing. Yeah, you got a lesson out of that, but you could have took a little time, figured some stuff out, got better results. So what action right now do you need to take toward your goal? That's the next thing. Decide what step you need to take action toward your goal. Even a small step, as I mentioned. And here's some of the things that you can do right now. Identify the areas you want to make improvement. I'm talking about personal, professional. This is not locked into one thing, guys. It really is not. Identify the areas you want to make improvement. Identify the goal in those areas. Identify what is the main one you want to work on right now. Start getting knowledge on that area. You need to constantly be getting more knowledge about things. Take action on it when it's time. And most of the time, action is, it's golden. If you don't got into action, you just got thoughts. You just got a good thought possibly. You don't have nothing to work with because you're not taking no action on it. You're not getting no results. You got to take action at some point. Realize that you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to have the full vision sometimes. You just need to take small progressive action. Often, if it leads to the next step. And it does. Small actions consistently done generally leads you into the next step. Sometimes it ain't even the step that you know what to do. You don't know what's going to happen. You just do that first step and the second step, and then you, wow, I know what to do now. I can go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's like success. When you start working harder, you find yourself getting luckier. I think there's a saying that says that. The harder that I work, the luckier I seem to get. A lot of people say, well, the more things I do, seems like the harder it gets. That's also a mental attitude. You can also change your actions. And a lot of times you will change your circumstances. I know some of you out there, you can't change certain things. I'm not saying you can't. What I am saying is certain circumstances is brought on by negative mental attitudes, by negative actions. For instance, let's say somebody's saying they won't never have a place to live, or they won't never be able to afford something. You never will. You've got to see it to achieve it. Somebody once said something like this: if you can envision it and see it, you can hold it in your hand. I don't know as I agree with that. But what I will say, it's a very important, powerful factor. When you start envisioning where you're going and you can see yourself in great detail, you start telling your mind, hey, I can do this. I'm not short on confidence. I never really have been. Now, there may be things that I'm sure there's people that think, oh, you can't do that, this, that, and the other. But most of my life has been like that. It's not been easy. There's been things that, that's been hard. There's been things that's come easy too. When I'm blessed, I hope you're blessed too. But in the end, regardless where you find yourself, that's where you're at. You have to move forward from that. But I want to encourage you that attitude, that you build that, because a lot of times our mental anguish, of our self-doubting beliefs of ourselves, it's brought on by us. You got to stop that. You got to stop that mental thing. You're not good enough. You're not strong enough. You're not fast enough. You don't have the right makeup. You don't have the right degrees. You don't have the right knowledge. You can accomplish great things where you're at right now, but you first have to be the one who believes it. Moving on, I don't want to go a lot more longer than what I have. I've got a lot of content. I don't know if I'm going to be getting through it today. Get our newsletter, our free newsletter on entrefied.com, www.entrefied.com. There's a resources section at the top, and you can go into that. But I would recommend you get a free newsletter. You're going to get a lot of different things. special content, probably transcripts. We have over 100 and something transcripts of podcasts. One of the things I want you to get though is that workbook, and it's in the free newsletter. So don't put it off. Go get the free newsletter. It's not costing you anything. Get that and start. And here's the thing: start applying it every day. It's very simple. The morning routine is very simple. Adapt it. Adapt it to what you want it to be. All right, guys. Next thing is not next thing is putting the necessary work in. Man, I couldn't even read my own writing there. And it was digital print. Wow. Okay, anyway. Next thing is putting the work in, guys. So look at that and start putting in the work in, doing what you need to do to get it done. Could be work, could be study. Something you need to know is don't come easy. It comes at a cost. What does that mean? Basically means there's going to be sacrifice in anything you do. You got to figure out if you're wanting to sacrifice bad enough. Emotionally, you have to get your head right, as I mentioned. I'll be talking about that more in the continual improvement program. Get that in the free newsletter. But guys, I was going to go into a lot more, and there's a lot of things. I just simply don't have the time on this podcast. I wish that I had more time for you guys on this podcast to do this. I was hoping I would. Can I mention anything really fast? Oh, wow. That's a whole podcast by itself. The reason I try to keep the podcast small is I want you guys to not just feel like I'm talking for 30, 40, 50 minutes without no great content. Hope you've got great content in this. See you next time. Bye-bye.